so God gave them their own nation. That's why he gave every man his spot where he ought to live. God scattered the people across the planet and put them people in Russia, that's where they belong. The people in the Bahamas, that's where they belong. And people in Haiti, where they belong. And the people in Sudan and all the other places around the world. Unfortunately, some people have not taken their responsibility. In the Bahamas, we did. We went through our ups and downs. From before 1729, when the Parliament was set up in the Commonwealth of Bahamas, I believe we have the third longest serving Parliament in the Western Hemisphere. The point is, Bahamians, that we have a rich history, and too many of us are not fully aware of what has been happening prior to independence. What happened July the 10th, 1973, when we transferred from being a colony into a nation. And there are still some of you who question whether we are a sovereign, independent, democratic, theocratic state. We have the Constitution to go by. And that is what we ought to be dealing with, and the Holy Bible. Now, of course, you know this is the political season. We want to invite all of those persons we have space on the radio station. For those political personalities, and of course you have to pay for that service, it's not for free, to come on the radio station and present your message in clear and simple language to the Bahamian people. We will interview the candidates or a party personality on the show one at a time. You're not going to have a bunch of people in here. So if a candidate wants to come on, fine. We can interview that candidate for a cost. The cost would be reasonable. And so you can get a clear and precise message. That's just the interviews now that we are going to do on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. The people of this country want answers to their problems. I spoke to a particular personality in a particular constituency, and I told that individual to listen to the show today, because there are times when I have to shift quickly in doing a show. I may come prepared for a show today, as I am prepared. I'm expecting a special guest on today, but as soon as that guest comes on, I will shift again. The point is, people are concerned about their particular situation. This particular personality I spoke to has been voting for a particular party for decades. And I asked that individual, what major constituency problems have been solved in your particular constituency from the time you were voting all that time for that one particular party? And here are the clear-cut benefits that come to you and your constituents as a result of your representation in the House of Assembly. And the particular personality told me nothing. That was a straightforward answer. No constituency problems having been solved. Do you know I was waiting for that kind of an answer for 11 and a half months? And no one calling into this show was able to tell me, maybe with the exception of my friend in Grand Bahama. That's two people. You mean to tell me out of the thousands and thousands and thousands of persons who voted in this country cannot give me a clear-cut answer? And the particular personality asked me for some comments on it and what I thought about some things. And I told that individual, please listen to the show. I'm expecting a special guest today and a special guest tomorrow, an open line on Friday. I'm going to deal with it at great length, open line on Friday. What is true parliamentary representation? I asked the individual, what do you expect from a representative? And here's one. Out of scores of thousands of Bahamians who have been going to the polls, voting for a particular political party, whoever they put out a scrap meat, the constituents fell for that. without even thinking, don't even know the person, know nothing about the particular personality, but has been voting that way for decades. You think I was surprised at that? No. So what are you doing, Bahamians? What the heck are you doing? What is it that you expect from a parliamentary representative? And this particular personality, I'm not going to call the constituency and I'm going to call the name of the particular personality. I'll just speak to the issue. As that particular personality, I'm not going to say whether it's male or female. I know how to deal with this, Bahamians. I am going to deal with this very strongly to assist you as constituents in a particular constituency to find the right person. Did you get that, Bahamians? Not another lapdog. Not a particular person who is blind and cannot see, just follow the dictates of a particular political party. That has not helped this woman, this particular personality, in this particular constituency. And the particular individual is very much concerned and say, what do you think? Well, what I'm going to give the answer, I'm going to give you a constitutional answer and I'm going to give you a biblical answer. Because I think that is where we ought to go. It has been proven over decades of experience that persons have come and gone and misled and deceived the electorate in this country. Our electorate, you got to stop being deceived. There's a way to stop deception. You need to know what you are doing. When you look at the record, there is a particular party that has been around in the legislative branch of governance for 70 years next year. 70 consecutive years. Do you understand the importance of that, voters? You gave that particular political party 70 consecutive years in giving them seats in the House of Assembly and in the Senate. And you are not able to call this show today and say, Professor, as a result of supporting that particular political party, giving that particular party the authority to run this country consistently for decades. Of course, there were times when that particular party was in opposition. But let's deal with the governing side then. And the two questions come right to the top. Constituency, every single constituency that particular party has had the opportunity by the constituents in those particular constituency over a 70-year span. What major constituency problems have been solved through strong parliamentary representation, if they ever got that, over that 70-year span? And here are the clear-cut benefits that come to those constituents where the people trusted those individuals from that particular political party. Where are the benefits? There's another individual living in this particular constituency who is destitute, cannot seat a particular representative for that particular constituency. And there are some others in there who have suffered long and hard, and they're lost. What kind of representation do you expect, Bahamians, from a parliamentary representative? See, I can go deep into that, very deep. I heard someone on another show say a particular political party thrives on lower voter turnout to win an election. Let me say this clearly to the Bahamian electorate. Every single Bahamian who is eligible to participate in the parliamentary democracy, and if you're not sure, you listen to this radio show and you will get the answers as to how to choose the right person. You've never been told that before. You go to St. Barnabas Church, but you wait to BDC. And I always like to use this example because, the pastor who was there, he always used to preach. And I used to listen to him. So I always remember St. Barnabas Church, but it could be applied to any other church. So I'm not picking on St. Barnabas members. I don't want people at St. Barnabas to misunderstand me, but I'm just drawing an analogy. It could apply to the Catholic Church, it could apply to Anglican Church, it could apply to any other church for that matter. You're members in Barnabas Church, but you work to BTC. You go to St. Barnabas Church Sunday morning. You don't ever go to BTC Sunday morning at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. Because St. Barnabas having church. Monday morning, 9 o'clock, you're at BTC. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. One individual, two different functions. And when you go to St. Barnabas Church, you don't tell the members of St. Barnabas Church, leave your job and come with me tomorrow morning. All of us can go to BTC and we can get jobs there. You see them just do that? No. St. Barnabas members work in different places. Some may be lawyers, some may be teachers, some may be bus drivers, all these different things. But you don't ever see them say, all of us can leave our jobs where we're working, and tomorrow morning we go in with this particular member who works for BTC. We want jobs at BTC. So you have a whole army of St. Barnabas members showing up to the door of BTC for a job. That doesn't happen that way. But St. Barnabas members go to their respective jobs on that particular Monday. I'm drawing an illustration, Bahamians, because see, you could identify with this. And listen, St. Barnabas never make the mistake of going to the job on the wrong time. They do it for years. Same thing in any other church. They do it for years and it's like clockwork. They don't wake up on a Tuesday morning and say, boy, it's 11 o'clock. I got to go to St. Barnabas Church. They have in church today. It doesn't work like that. It's like they are wired to go to church on a Sunday morning, wired to go to work on a Monday morning. And like I say, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. The Constitution allows for freedom of religion. I don't want to get into that aspect today. But this particular personality asked me a very important question. And I think I have an obligation, since I have these microphones in front of me, to talk to the Bahamian people and help you to understand how to choose the right person. Because this particular personality has been voting for decades and cannot see any benefits. And I asked that one question. What major constituency problems have been solved in your constituency as a result of you supporting this particular party and the particular candidate that has been put up over these many decades? Zero. No solutions. No constituency problems being solved. Don't you think that's your answer? Let's think about that, Bahamians. So what the heck are you voting for? We have to think about that seriously, because tens of thousands, scores of thousands of Bahamians are deceived on that. I'm going to break that veil of deception. because it doesn't make any sense. And the particular personality pointed to certain things in that particular constituency. No change. The particular personality talked about the time when that particular personality was a child and going through the many decades. No appreciable change in the lifestyle and the improvement of that particular constituency. You see how people in the dumps? And at least the woman recognized that. But the individual asks a question, what should be done? And that question, I will answer that one, because I think it deserves an answer. But let's look at the harsh realities. One particular party next year, 70 years in the legislative branch of this country. And a lot of you need to think about that. You gave a particular party 70 years. Now think about what has happened in your particular constituency over that 70-year span. Well, that's what the electorate did. Billions of dollars were spent, maybe tens of billions, maybe scores of billions. I got to check the figures on this. But I know it's tens of billions that were spent over that period of time. You know what 70 years is, Bahamians? From 1956 to 2026, 70 years. So Bahamians, this particular party has a track record, a long one. There's plenty evidence you can look at. When that particular party was in opposition, when that particular party was in government. And let me say this, the electorate has been so good to those personalities who have had the opportunity to run this place. And when the chips are down as they are now, those very same persons, former and present, let you down when you need them the most. Do you understand how serious that is? They go like a snail in the shell and lock themselves in. And the vast majority of the Bahamian people suffer. Only a few benefit. Is that the way we want to keep running this place for the next 52 years? Is that what we want? See, you can't tell me about that particular party that has had a 70-year trek in the legislative branch. What new thing could you tell me about that particular organization? Nothing. You could go back and check the record from the very beginning and bring it right on up to now. What is it they could tell you now in this upcoming election? What could they tell you? That you have not already heard, Bahamians? You need to start thinking seriously about governance in this country. And then the other party, they've been knocking around for, I'm not quite sure how many years, but I know it's more than 50. I believe we have a caller on the line. Pardon? Oh, Lady Russell. Oh, my special guest is here. She's coming by way of the... Lady Russell, welcome to Global Radio Network 99.5 FM to express yourself.
I thank you. I thank you for the invitation, Professor Thompson. Are you hearing me clearly?
Very clearly, very clearly. Yes,
wonderful, wonderful. I appreciated the history lesson. You pointed out that it's been 70 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And what came to mind is in 70 years, we never had that referendum on citizenship. 70 years, we never had that referendum on citizenship. And 70 years, we never had that referendum on citizenship. And 70 years, we never had that referendum on citizenship. And 70 years, we never had that referendum on citizenship. And 70 years, we never had that referendum on citizenship.
That's right. That is correct.
And now you have um, the Trump administration today announced that they have just removed the TPS status of another 500,000 immigrants.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so they're ready for immediate deportation. And many of those people will probably claim that they're Bahamians, having left out of here on a raft, or maybe even having uh, some of our documents
Yes,
and
ma'am.
arriving in the U.S. not Bahamian citizens, but claiming to be.
Claiming to be,
And
yes.
so we're looking at another possible onslaught of arrivals of people who need a way of life, who you know are
Yes,
going
ma'am.
to be desperate in desperate straits,
Yes, ma'am.
and right in our territory. So we're looking at a problem. But when you asked me to participate today, your
Yes, ma'am.
concern at that time was President Trump's bombing of the Iranian nuclear facilities.
That is
Uh,
correct. I still want to get into that. I was just waiting until you came onto the line,
uh-huh.
and my producer said you were not quite ready at that point. So I just wanted to say some things to the public
Mhm,
because a question that was asked of me today, and I told that particular person to listen to the radio show, but I'll deal with that on Friday. But we can
mhm,
deal with the issue what you prepared for. I'm ready for that,
mhm.
and you can begin from there.
We can talk about a number of things. I had asked my listeners to tune in, that you would be hosting a discussion on how we averted World War III,
Yes,
as
ma'am.
well as the immigration crisis, the illegal immigration crisis, because as you know, our border is not yet closed.
No, it's not.
Everybody else has closed borders except the Bahamas,
Yes,
as though we're waiting for the onslaught of people who are looking to kill us, because when a person can't get something to eat, they're going to hurt you.
yes,
You
yes.
don't know it? Oh.
That is true. Yeah, that's the real problem.
so,
We have
so
heard nothing from the government of the Bahamas as it relates to deportation of
mhm.
illegal aliens in this country. The
Well,
government is
a
completely
boatload
silent on that.
was just discovered at Abaco a
Yes,
few days ago. The OPBAT people, thank God for them. That's a
yes, ma'am.
U.S. operation that's done in our waters. And so
Yeah,
I wanted to point out to you um, that that is a major, major problem in our
yes,
national development. We're going to have to employ and expand our assets to put together special forces for the protection of our borders. We
yes,
cannot
ma'am.
continue to sit back and allow America to defend our borders, which is fine now because we have Trump in the chair. But suppose America gets a president that's an idiot, I mean a real crazy person who don't like us. We would
Yes,
have a problem. We need to be
real
concerned
problem.
about our own safety,
No,
our own.
I
Mhm,
certainly agree with you that we need to strengthen our borders. This is where we need to have responsible leaders who have been
mhm,
given the responsibility to govern this country. As I've said before you came on air,
mhm. I was
the
listening.
Bahamian electorate has been very generous,
Mhm,
giving latitude of power to a
mhm.
particular party that's been knocking around in the legislature for 70 consecutive years.
Well, thank you for the time check. I didn't realize how much time
I
how much
think a
time
lot
had
of
been
Bahamian
given.
voters do not understand that. And I spoke to that particular personality
Hmm.
who stopped me as I was on my way home to get ready to come to the show and
Hmm.
asked me a pointed question.
Hmm.
Because this particular personality has been voting for that particular party consistently for decades
Yeah.
and
Well,
has not seen any improvement in that particular constituency. So I said, what are you going to do about it?
well, might I remind you of something? You were a regular guest on my ZNS radio show, and you
Right.
always raise that same question. And so you were teaching us subliminally by method and rote that we hadn't asked the right questions
No, we
on
hadn't.
the subject of leadership. And we
Yeah.
still haven't. We
No, we haven't.
continue to elect people who have no training in any particular discipline.
That
Now,
is true.
that's a formula for failure.
Yes, ma'am.
I refer our listeners to the recent election in the teachers union. Miss Belinda Wilson wins again. I think it's a seventh consecutive
Uh, Victory.
victory.
Yes.
And that's not because those people are stupid. That's because they are content in her management of their affairs.
Yes.
So, innuendo, gossip aside, they don't care. They found a person who can manage their financial interests and their um, issues that come up in the world of teaching. They're happy with the representation. Now, Bahamians keep changing the government because we are not happy with the representation that's been given, but we haven't selected carefully. We haven't use the right formula. Saranda wrote a book saying that you should know your government. And
Yes.
that's important too. But what you're saying and what you're going to help us with, how to select the candidates.
Yes.
He did a thing on that too. We need to know. We don't know. How do you
Yeah.
get a person who they popular this week? You elect them. All they can do is bounce a basketball. That's not going
Yes.
to help you.
No, it's not going to. That is quite right. And that is why I'm going to dig very deep into that from a biblical standpoint as well as from a constitutional standpoint, because I believe the Bahamian people, the Bahamian electorate,
Mm-hmm.
because of the way things have been going for the last 52 plus years,
Mm-hmm.
bouncing from one entity to the next entity, that tells you something is wrong. All you have to do is look at the last two elections.
Mm-hmm.
We have given political parties, and Bahamians need to understand this, a massive landslide of seats. Not one of them could say they didn't have the seats to correct the problems, the situations in our country as it relates to law, whether it be constitutional law or whether it be statute law. There
Mm-hmm.
has been, I understand, of course, the Attorney General say they're putting something out about the penal code and they're going to put it out for consultation. That remains to be seen. But the thing is that the Bahamian people have been misled and deceived for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
And they need all of the correct information to help them to make sound decisions and good judgments. That's what I'm going to be doing very, very vociferously at this particular time. Because we cannot keep going down the drain. When you look at our country, we are going down a steep cliff
Mm-hmm.
to the bottom where we will have a disaster. We cannot afford to let that happen. And I tell Bahamians all the time, all you guys look around you and see nation after nation after nation where they have
Mm-hmm.
slipped. Sudan. You look at
Mm-hmm.
Haiti. You look
I
at
hear you.
what's happening in the Gaza Strip. You look at what's happening in countries in Central and South America.
Mm-hmm.
We are having people, and these are tens of millions of people who are suffering under the boot of a dictator,
Mm-hmm.
and they have it hard pressed to even do something
Well,
because these people just shut you down.
but Brother Thompson, I believe we are fortunate in the Bahamas in
Very much.
that Article 23 guarantees our freedom of speech
Of course it
and
does.
24 movement.
Oh,
And
yes.
so the founders, I was just reading about A. Loftus Roca earlier today.
Yes,
When
ma'am.
they went to that constitutional conference, and I believe the UBP crew left because Christmas was approaching. And so those same people for the 70 years, they were the ones who sat and initially crafted the document upon which our laws rest. And so any failure to enforce, any failure to improve, ought to be laid at the people who helped to craft the foundational
Right.
document
Yes, ma'am.
because they ought to have known, and I'm sure they did. It was just inconvenient. I remember Dr. Donaldson told me that at one point The counterfoils for a referendum on citizenship was prepared. It
Yeah.
just never happened.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we stand at the precipice of destruction with
Yes, ma'am.
thousands of people trying to get in here to do God knows what. And
Yes.
a government that is so compromised that it will not close the border for whatever reason. Now,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
suspect that reason has to do with buying into the Democrat playbook that
Yes, ma'am.
Kamala Harris and them, they were here for the CARICOM meeting, and they seem to all be good friends. Well, that Democrat playbook didn't work out so good for Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. It
Yes,
was
ma'am.
a failure. Anytime you fail to police your borders, anytime you fail to ensure the national security of your citizens, you are declared a failure. But the Bahamian people will not sit by and allow the Bahamas to be declared a failed state. We will get help from our neighbors to the north because I can tell you, President Trump is running America and maintaining peace in the whole world by respect and fear. Those people over there in Tehran, they understand that very easily all of their religious fervor could end up in the end of all things. Now, let me tell you, their biggest fear, because they're scared of dying, their
No, they're
biggest fear is to be cursed with soil that's radioactive and you die slow and you die of sores and you watch your women and your children
Yes,
just
ma'am.
wean away in front of you because of your stupidity.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
thank God for President Trump. He has restored them to their senses because radioactive soil will kill them eventually. I
Yes, ma'am.
assure them. Now, we are the neighbors of the strongest nation in the world.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
if you want to see the rockets' red glare and the bombs bursting in air, full with them, we count them as our friends. So
Yes, ma'am.
we're going to have to ask for some help over here because that border situation that we have failed to address and that Nationality Act that we never enacted into law.
That is
Well,
correct.
even the Nationality Act, Professor Thompson, I don't know if you remember, it required renunciation of all the persons that were going to be given citizenship under it.
That is correct.
Well, I don't know if you remember, Keturah Ferguson, the last director, the last legal director at immigration, she
Yeah.
said these people weren't being asked to renounce anything. They were
Okay.
just being given Bahamian citizenship. So I'm not worried about that because that's null and void. It's just a matter of a court date.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm not worried about any of what we see that's frightening because it can be fixed. It's
Okay.
doable. We are a nation of laws. And
Yes.
as I said, neighbors to the strongest nation on the planet.
Yes. No, you're
Mhm.
correct about that. And that problem has to be fixed. And, people have been given the opportunity. See, the Bahamian electorate trusted
Yes,
those personalities who
yes,
have been given authority in this country to do our business and to
yes,
be fair and just to the Bahamian people. But what has
yes,
happened is those who came after the founding fathers did not stay on target as to what we ought to be as a nation. We've had this steady decline year after year after year, election after election, and the Bahamian electorate did not correct the government of the Bahamas, did not correct the parliament of the Bahamas.
yeah. Because many of us had never seen the Constitution, Brother Thompson. I don't know
Yes.
if you remember, it used to be $37.50. I used to tell you that's like seven whole chickens. So
Yeah.
many people
Yeah.
weren't going to buy it, and so they hadn't seen it. But worse is the people we elected to defend it had
Yes.
never seen it.
But
So
that
can
is
you
true.
imagine
Some
you're
people
given a
don't.
complicated job without any instructions? You don't have clear instructions. How you going to function?
You cannot function because see what has happened is that you've had people just doing things without any clear cut reference to work with.
Yeah,
Just something that comes in their mind, what they
yeah,
and we can't run a country like that. That's
not
why
a
we have so
successful.
many problems. We've had a proliferation of new problems.
Yeah.
Even where I live, the area where I live, we have a
Oh,
proliferation of new problems in that part of the constituency. But
You
all I'm
have hundreds of people from Haiti there. They always like that hill. I don't know why.
you have that element there. That element is there. I'm not going to dispute that.
Mm.
And it's glaring right in your face. And
Mm-hmm.
it deals with, okay? Because the country called the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is for Bahamians. We have laws and standards we ought to go by. And it's important that the government of Bahamas and those who have been given the authority to do things recognize that. Now, if they don't, then there's a remedy for that also.
Yes,
Fix it.
that's what we're looking at this point, Brother Thompson. We're looking for persons who have been trained in some important nation building skills. We
Yeah.
don't have many, but there are some.
No, there's some.
And if those persons who are trained in the requisite skills will come together and pool their resources to save the Bahamas, it
I,
can be saved.
I am
We,
glad you mentioned it because I spoke not only yesterday, but on a number of shows about this institutional knowledge
yeah,
that has been accumulated over 52 years plus. We have to tap into that because there are certain persons who were given responsibility to do some things more so than others. And I
yes,
see to them, they have a tremendous contribution to make for the betterment of this country. We
yes,
have qualified persons in virtually every single area of life in this country, and we need to ask those people to look at the state of affairs in this country and
mhm,
see what contribution they can make to improve the quality of life, to improve the quality of governance in this country. And I am going to say right now, since I'm speaking to that,
mhm,
those particular personalities who are interested in presenting their program to the Bahamian people, Global Radio Network is wide open. We had a tremendous discussion one or two Saturdays ago, lengthy conversation on that. And the determination was made we will have those people come in for to be able to discuss what it is they want to give to the Bahamian people, because the Bahamian people are looking for answers now.
yes,
No more jive turkeys, like this
no,
lady told me today. People have been playing with the minds of the Bahamian electorate for too long. That
yes,
has to stop. And so we need some strong, direct parliamentary representation for the particular constituency, and that will give us strong governmental representation for the nation as a whole. You don't need zombies just sitting there collecting money because they are part of a particular political party. Because I have to explain the difference between political party and the governance of the country, parliamentary representation at the constituency level, and also the government of the Bahamas, what the government of the Bahamas is supposed to be doing, because people seem to believe party of the Bahamas instead of government of the Bahamas, two different entities altogether.
yes, yes.
That has to be explained. But Lady Russell, I think I'm going to go to a break now. My producer is playing the music in the background. So that means we have to go to a break. The lines are open 3260271, 3260272, My special guest is Lady Philippa Russell today on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. I'm sure she has some very interesting information to give us. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break. And my special guest today is Lady Philippa Russell. She is going to speak on a number of issues, but we're going to talk about the incident that happened with Mr. Donald Trump bombing the three nuclear sites in Iran. And in fact, I heard a recent statement that he said has been smashed. And you have some other people are saying some other things, but this comes from, and I had to smile because I'm hearing some other things, and some people are saying it didn't happen. I said, but the man told me, and this is
Mhm.
a new thing that he put out again recently since the first statement went out. But they seem not to be able to understand. But that's the way it is. But when we talk about situations in our own country, people tend to be politically polarized with uh, things of national importance. And Bahamians, like I said, you may be a member of St. Barnabas Church, you wake to BDC, and I drew this analogy
Mhm.
because it's a simple analogy.
Mhm.
You can be a member of a political party. You do
Mhm.
not have to support that particular candidate of that particular party.
Mhm.
That's what people need to understand. When it comes to choosing a representative, that is something that is totally different from your position being a party follower. And most of you are just followers. You're not even members of the party. Lady Russell.
Yeah. I'm I'm laughing because America with its propaganda wars, you know, we
Yeah.
need to really learn from them.
No, we should.
Um, Despite the most effective propaganda war against Donald Trump, notice he won the popular vote.
Yes, he
He
did.
won the majority of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he took it clean away because there's a point at which you cannot lie to a human being.
Yes, ma'am.
You know when they're telling you nonsense,
Yes.
especially if you don't have anything in your refrigerator and you can't afford to fill up the car or
Yes,
pay the
ma'am.
insurance on it. You start making wise decisions. We're at a similar point here in the
Yes, ma'am.
Bahamas. The decision making has been so poor regarding the Bahamian peoples, the citizens of the Bahamas, and the quality of our way of life. We hear that the National Insurance Fund has billions of dollars in it, but who is benefiting from from it?
Yeah.
Certainly, average citizens are being told to wait. Elderly people are being denied food assistance. And if
Yeah.
you need the surgery at the hospital, it's full by some other people who don't even have a right to land on a plane. Matter of
Yes.
fact, most didn't come by plane. They came
By
by way of sand and ran up the shore. And so you cannot allow for the mismanagement of your nation's resources and get a pat on the back. It won't happen. You will be asked to leave and
yes.
quickly because in the end, all the public relations aside, it's all about the quality of life. And Brother Thompson, this Bahamas is still the third largest economy in this hemisphere.
That
We
is
make real money in the Bahamas, real money.
yes.
And so you have these people who are coming from a nation where the good ain't no good. And so a $260 a week minimum wage is an excellent deal for them because
Yeah.
the weekly rate of pay in Haiti, I think it might be $6 or something.
Yeah.
Um, but it can't work anymore for Bahamians. The minimum wage does not help a Bahamian. You have rent to pay, car payment, gas, electricity, food to buy. It cannot work. So the whole economy needs restructuring for the
Yes.
Bahamian people, certainly not the people who broke in. You weren't but them, you're going to lose your job. That's what's going to happen. So the Bahamian people are demanding that the economy be focused on our needs. We're demanding retraining in every area, especially tourism. We will lose our number one tourism status unless we look and focus on the retraining of all of the people who are involved in that area of that's our moneymaker.
That's our money
And
maker. Yeah.
so we haven't trained, we don't even have a proper training program. I remember when I was at Paradise Island many years ago when when Saul, before Saul Kersner came, when the Causeweys people, when Donald Trump owned it, actually. I was
Yes.
there. And we had a man at the Cafe Martinique, they called him Boy. He was the most meticulous food and beverage server anyone had seen in the world. They'd come put him in the movies. He was that good.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
what I realized is with the 15% introduction gratuity, we took our minds off of the importance of quality service. The
That's correct.
Bahamas was the best
Very
white
bad.
glove service in the world. We beat Paris, France. They was a joke. They had to come here and see how we do it. And
Yes.
and so we have areas of our own economy to polish up, to fix up, to get our people ready for. We have Grand Bahama. I worked in that project. We brought Hutchison Whampoa to set up those gantry cranes. Each of them about $1.2 million piece of equipment to storage and be the transshipment point for North America. The whole shipping thing up in Michigan and the eastern seaboard is they need space. They need Grand Bahama. But that hasn't been developed because the people who inherited the government after the deals were done don't even know what a container load should be billed at.
Yes, ma'am.
You've never seen such catastrophic ignorance. And we continue to elect them. They can't even spell
Yes.
the
Some can't
crane
count
that you're
figures.
talking about. And and
Yes,
and
ma'am.
and you elect them and they don't know anything about the shipping business. What Grand Bahama represents for the Thompson, I'm going to go there, is a possible future for our children. We could be the biggest in transshipment, storage, cataloging, just keeping the goods. It's worth that much to the American market. Just to store it, the
So
computerized, to be able to retrieve it, to put it on a boat and to send it when it's needed.
it is
It's a
needed.
day away.
Yes,
It's two
that's right.
weeks out of China, 2 to 6 weeks.
Right.
So if the merchandise is close by where we are holding it for them, that's a savings. That's big money. That
Big
puts our
money.
people to work. We
Yes.
have land in Grand Bahama that's affordable. Our children need to build a house, get married, and have children. That's why we run Kamala. We ain't LGBT here. It's a Christian nation with
Yes, ma'am.
men and women who marry and have children. And we've
Yes, ma'am.
got to encourage that so
Yes, we
that we
have.
don't become extinct. These
Yes.
are the people that are being sold our documents. They will always be Haitian. Notice what happens every year in May. They hoist up their flag. You need to go hoist that home, buddy. And we're going to see to it. We're going to insist.
Yes.
The Bahamas will remain the Bahamas as long as we adhere to the constitutional dictates. We will remain a Christian nation. We will observe the rule of law. We will be hardworking, loyal, and diligent followers of the Lord Jesus Christ because it's in there. It's what we covenanted to do, and we
Yes.
haven't changed it, and we will not.
No, that's very important. We have to get back to the founding principles of nation building. And this is where we have strayed off over the last 50 or so years in this country. And Bahamians have been listening to every other voice instead of what's in our Constitution and what's in the Holy Bible.
That's something there.
Yeah, we've
Well,
definitely
I
done.
thank God that Mrs. White saw the value of having you on the air every day to mention the Constitution and the Bible. And so there are a number of people who listen to you, and they've been encouraged in their spirits that all is not lost.
No,
And
they
all is not lost.
yes, ma'am. No, all is not lost. And I am delighted when I hear people say how much they have learned. And of course, that is a good thing. And I believe we're going to see the fruits born from that because people are interested in saving the country, just like this particular person I saw just before coming on the show. People are very much concerned about their future, about their children, about their
Yes,
community. They want problems solved. That's what I
yes,
got from this particular person. We have to have the kind of strong parliamentary representation that is essential to solving problems that afflict people. These problems have existed for decades,
yes.
and it
Well,
has to change. No
well,
ifs,
we'll have to
no
elect
ands, no
people,
buts.
Brother Thompson. We'd have to elect people who are trained in specific disciplines. I pointed to the example of Miss Belinda Wilson, and congratulations to her on what I think is her seventh victory.
Seven victory, yes.
Uh, but she is trained in what she does.
Yes.
She's the best at it. And so they are well served. We have got to select people not because somebody gave them the party color shirt,
Right.
because they may not be able to spell their own name. Or if we ask carefully, we might find that in truth, they're not a real Bahamian. They
No,
came by some documents and they say they're Bahamian, but they're not. I have a tape and I play it over and over to remind myself, because I'm thinking, how did I not know this? I knew this person for about 40 years. How
yes.
did I not know this? Well,
I
I
am
didn't.
I am glad you raised it because deception is a serious thing. This is why God gives us clear-cut instructions as to how we ought to operate. We have ignored some very basic fundamental principles that we
My
ought
good sense.
to have. And the thing is that we've ignored all of that. And then we go by what this one say, what that one. Just listen to the discussion you hear on the radio shows when it comes to talking about parliamentary representation.
Mhm.
What I heard the other day on another radio station, they, even the language that was being used at that time was not even proper for the radio airwaves. But people get all broiled up, all confused, and they miss the real purpose of what they're supposed to be dealing with. We need to solve problems, not get into people's personal affairs. We have issues. We have to find the right persons to deal with the issues that affect our people because we are hurting badly. The problems have been increasing. The burden is getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And we have to say, well, where do we go? What do we do? What is the standard that we ought to be going by? And that is what I want to get across to the Bahamian people. Because the thing is that we cannot afford to lose any more time. 52 years is a long time to be kept in the dark on issues of national importance and issues that affect your particular constituency, and you just can't seem to see your way out. You're just looking at some colors, you're looking at some scraps that have been thrown at you, but your life, the quality of your life, your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, your mother and your father, your grandparents, just look at the quality of life. Has it improved? And if it hasn't improved, where has it improved? And these are the things we need to look at. Lady Russell? Is Lady Russell there? And I think we may have lost Lady Russell, but we'll just continue until she gets back on. The point is, Bahamians, we have issues that are very serious in our country. And what happened last Saturday night with Mr. Donald Trump giving instructions to uh, the armed forces of the United States of America, he showed strength in what he did. And there are times you have to deal very hard with people who can't understand. You just can't keep playing games with them. And they think if you just want to play games with them, or they will come and lick your face because that's what puppies do. The point is that there are times when you have to make hard decisions. This is what our leaders need to understand. The problems we have in this country are so enormous and so huge. People are wondering whether we can survive under this onslaught, but we will survive, Bahamians. Because God has a purpose for the Bahamas being where it is now, and it has a purpose for what it ought to be doing in the immediate future. The immediate future. Because we have situations which ought to be changed, and we are in a position to do it. The lines are open 326-0271, 326 0272 813 0271. And so, Bahamians, it is most important that we recognize that some changes must be made. No ifs, no ands, no buts. How do we go about changing it? There has to be an organized movement of people. There was another host who was saying that a particular political party thrives on low voter turnout. And let me explain something to Bahamians. Those of you who qualify to participate in the parliamentary process of this country, you need to participate. Now, of course, some instruction has to be given to you to help you to make wise decisions. It is not my intent to tell you who to vote for. That's not the purpose of this show. The purpose of the program is to give you sound advice that you can work with. And unfortunately, with many of you, you do not know the contents of the Constitution. Even the particular personalities you've been sending there over these many years do not understand. Now that's a dilemma, Bahamians. The very people you sent to run your national affairs do not even know the very supreme law of the land, which ought to be guiding them in their decision making. So you have these individuals sitting in the House of Assembly as party representatives, not parliamentary representation. You're not getting that, Bahamians. They're towing a party line. And this is where the confusion comes in, because when you sit in the House of Assembly, you sit as a parliamentary representative for your particular constituency that you've been elected to serve. That's priority number one, not the dictates of a particular political party. You may have membership in that particular political party, but are you performing your job as a parliamentary representative? And this is the problem we have in our country, where Bahamians do not understand the difference. That is, the electorate don't understand the difference. They get all confused. And they think the party and the government are one and the same. Bahamians, that's not so. You can have a political party, but that particular political party does not have to be the government of the Bahamas. Now, in some instances, some individuals in a political party may be represented in the House of Assembly and even in the Senate. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. That's constitutional. But the point is, when you look at yourself and you're looking at a political party and party philosophy, whereas the representative ought to serve the people of that particular constituency, and they come from all areas. Some are independents, some are members of political parties, some are followers of political parties. Just like the people who go to St. Barnabas Church, they have all different professions, but they all go to St. Barnabas Church. They listen to the minister. They agree on what the minister says as far as the philosophy of the church is concerned. And that's a good thing. Now, you who live in a particular constituency, I had asked you from July the 8th of last year to talk to your people in that particular constituency. Get to know them. I've gotten to know a whole lot of people over 50 plus years. I never got personal with them. Husbands and wives who I have known for years, decades. And I never knew they were husbands and wives because I don't get into people's personal business. But the point is, when it comes to the constituents in a particular constituency, it is important that the constituents communicate with each other. You may very well find that the right person for you lives right in your particular constituency. who is concerned about the welfare of the people of that particular constituency. And you listening and you're looking all around, someone who lives outside your constituency, who has no affinity with what conditions are like in your particular constituency. And that causes problems, serious problems. You have to know who you're dealing with. Is that individual homosexual? Is that individual a lesbian? Is that individual having done some things in business, in family life that are not proper or decent? What about the track record of that particular individual? Payments, you have to check these people out. You can't just look at them. They dress up in a nice suit, a nice shirt, a nice pants. That's the outward appearance. What about the inward situation? How they think, how they reason. You can find out, you know. They say the Bahamas is a small place. Everybody know everybody. Now, I'm not talking about gossip now. I'm talking about hardcore information. Those particular entities that have been given the authority to run this country, all you have is information on them. Ain't nobody to tell you anything about them. Their track record is right there, Bahamians, over the last 52 years. You have to determine whether you like it. Is it profitable to you? Has it been profitable? Yes or no? You look at it from a constituency point of view. You look at it from a national point of view. Because these people have had the opportunity to do it. Now ask yourself, those two questions that I asked about the constituency and about the nation. But a lot of you don't ask the right questions. That's the problem. And so you get deceived and misled every time. You get so taken up with a particular individual. You may like the particular person, but is that particular person fit and proper to be a representative? That's what you need to ask yourself. What about your future? You want just some ham and some turkey and some peanut butter or some similar thing like that?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
satisfied? Did Russell you back?
Yes, I'm back.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm
Yeah, I
back.
was just holding on
Um,
to you got back.
no, I'm sorry about that. I have a notice of prayer reminder that comes up on my phone, and it came right up in the middle of our show. And
That's
so
all.
your producer quite rightly protected your audience from a bell that rings off. It says it's prayer time. Ah, but we've been praying a lot.
Yes,
We've been
ma'am.
praying a lot for the nation, for the Thompson, because we need a heavenly intervention at this
No, we
point.
do. We need a heavenly convention. We need God to intervene and defend. That's why I keep telling people to pray for the nation. And
Yes.
at the same time, there are some specific things, specific clear cut instructions that are outlined in that Constitution about parliamentary representation, what you can expect from a parliamentary representative constitutionally, what you can
Uh-huh.
expect from the government of the Bahamas. Notice I didn't say nothing about nobody now. I
Yeah.
want people to understand that. When I read my constitution, I see government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I ain't see nothing about nobody.
Yeah.
So we need to
I hear your
understand.
music. I hear your music.
I hear the music. Yeah, I'm going to go there now.
Okay.
I just always play it nice and soft, and then you bring it up. That
Oh,
means I
okay.
need to start shutting up. This is Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We're going to go to a break. My producer is telling me that right now. The lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271. This is Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson, my special guest, Lady Philippa Russell. We'll be back after the break.
Radio99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is Express Yourself. We have our special guest, Lady Philippa Russell, today, and we're discussing issues of national importance. And Bahamians, you know, the election fever is on, and you're going to hear all kind of things. People are going to come, they're going to say, God told them this, God told them that. I'm not going to question that, but I find it up in what the scriptures say. God says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Do you see any rejoicing in your particular constituency?
Oh, no. No, sir.
You make
Things
the
are,
decision whether
things
you have
are.
a righteous person in the seat where you live right now.
Mhm.
He said the people would rejoice. God doesn't play game. But he also said in that same scripture, Proverbs 29:2, when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. Are you determined which is it?
Mhm.
Are you mourning in your particular constituency? Or are you rejoicing in your particular constituency? The same could apply to the nation. Are you mourning today in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas? Or are you rejoicing in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas?
Mhm.
You see, God puts it very straightforward.
Mhm.
When the righteous are in authority, notice that word when the righteous are in authority, something happens. When the wicked bear rule, something happens. Lady Russell, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can
I
you
don't
hear
know.
me?
Lady Russell, I don't know if we have a
Can you
connection.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I said I quoted Proverbs 29:2.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you. In our matter, we're dealing with a lack of righteousness as well as a lack of training.
Yes,
When we elect persons in future, we need to find out what are they skilled in doing.
that is true.
What do they know how to do? Because if you're a dressmaker, you're not going to do very well in the business of IT. You
That is
only know sewing. You
yeah,
don't
you only
know
know sewing.
computer technology.
Yeah.
So,
No, you're quite
so
right about that. Yes.
we
You're
need
quite
to find out before we elect people. I remember I was a spokesperson at the University of Wolf Road. I
right.
was probably the only female speaker there. And I was so happy to have been included. And when I got back to Grand Bahama, my father said, so baby girl, I heard you made a speech, a political speech. What was it called? I said, Woman Power, Daddy. He said, oh, you're one of those women who want to have your own wife? I said, what? He said, well, what do you think? What do you think it's about? I said, equal work and equal pay. He said, that's nonsense. The policewoman get the same amount as the policeman. You think
Yeah,
about it. What are they really arguing about? And I was so embarrassed. I didn't fool around with the feminist movement no more after that. I
yeah,
left.
yes, ma'am.
So what I'm telling you is we've got to select people who are well versed in what's going on in the world.
Yes,
You,
ma'am.
you
Yes,
can elect a well meaning soul and they just don't know what's going on. That's
yes,
a
ma'am.
problem for a nation.
Yes.
So just the other day, Kamala Harris flew in here with a pocket full of money to cause a LGBT agenda to be introduced into our schools.
Yes.
Thank God for Cassius Stewart, a nice young man. He had a rally somewhere up there in Marathon, and he at least drew public attention to the fact that our children were under siege. Have
Yes.
they been protected from the agenda? I don't think so. We have not raised up that kind of leadership that will put their lives on the line for the Bahamian people.
Yes.
Contrast that to Jovenel Moise, the last Haitian leader. That man got killed over the issue of vaccinating the Haitian people. I'll never forget him. That's leadership. He was willing to die for them. Now, what they need is some new leadership that'll come carry them home. Hallelujah. So,
Yes, ma'am. You're quite right. I think my producer's telling me I have a call on the line. Is that
oh,
correct?
wonderful, wonderful.
Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hi, I have to congratulate you and Lady Russell. Y'all are flaming hot. Y'all so hot. I mean, it's burning up the airwaves with truth and love and sincerity for this Bahamas. Like Lady Russell say, this Flag Day agenda needs to be stopped, and anything that is not Bahamian should not be allowed. Now, if you want to have your Flag Day in your private meeting or your private club, fine. But it should not be done because we're losing this country through all these little tricks and little schemes, and people are declaring victory over our land. And like Professor said, God gave the Bahamas for the Bahamians, Russia for the Russians. And we got to get this thing right once and for all to let these people know we want them out of our country, and we will go to the extreme to get them out because the Bahamas belongs to us.
Yeah, caller, you are so
Hallelujah.
correct on that. I say that's very good. Thank you for your contribution. That's the kind of contribution we need in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, because once we could get Bahamians to understand the importance of knowing what we ought to be as a nation, we have to get the right people in place to bring about the right circumstances that are essential to move the country forward. We just can't elect any and everybody to put in a particular position of responsibility. People have to be trained. People have to be qualified. That's why you have different professions. You have different parts of the body, the head, you have the eyes, you have the nose, you have the mouth. Each particular part, even the muscles, have a part to play on the body. And so a nation is just like that. People with different talents, different abilities, different potential to be able to bring the nation forward. That is why the education system was opened up and many people benefited from it. The point is, we now need to take that information, utilize it for the benefit of the Bahamian people, not just bringing in what some other persons are doing somewhere else. That is a problem that I have with the so-called educated personalities who want to tell us adopt what this particular nation is doing. I believe we have a caller on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please. Caller, go ahead. Caller, we're not able to hear you. Mr. Bruce, I don't think we're not getting anything from that caller.
Hello?
Yeah, caller, go ahead, please.
Hey, Professor, good day. Blackmail here.
Blackmail, what you say?
Top shape, man. Wonderful show with you and Lady Russell. Listen, man, we faced with a situation where we have an attorney general telling the Bahamian people that he wants to alter the Constitution, entrench law in the Constitution without a referendum.
Yes.
Yeah,
you're quite right. A blackmail on that. That is the point I've been stressing, where the Attorney General has been giving false information. He's been giving misleading information. The people need to tell him to his face that he's wrong. And I haven't heard anyone stand up and tell him he's got to stop talking foolishness and doing nonsense in that office.
Well, here's what's going to happen. There are a group of people which you are part of who has now deputized themselves. Because apparently the fellas we got running this country don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yes.
We are part of this constitution. In fact, we are a constitutional monarchy. Which simply means that we are principal shareholders. There is the House, 33 1/3%. There is the Senate, 33 1/3%, and there is the people. The decisions that they are making in relation to citizenship is unconstitutional and it's inconsistent with the Constitution.
That's correct.
And we want to send a stern warning to them. We will not allow them to get away with it. It will not happen.
Yes.
There's a warning to the Haitian people. You could either go back and fix Haiti or try to take over another country. But this country named the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, you will not get this. So they could take the Bahamas off their agenda. Whatever Satan tell them to try to come take God's territory, tell them they could forget that. Right? We are going to stand firm. We are going to stand strong. And we are going to stand united in solidarity. And we are going to maintain and retain our country, Professor.
Yes,
Russell.
Amen. Amen.
We allow foreigners who using an inconsistent law called the Bahamas Nationality Act, sections 4, 5, 6, the latter part of 7 and 9 for naturalization, which was never passed. The Parliament went as far as to say, the Bahama Island Parliament went as far as to say that the Queen gave them permission to enact such a law.
No.
Section 4.2 did not say that in the independence order. That's a blatant lie on the monarchy.
Yes.
Go check it out and read what it says. And so I want to encourage every Bahamian, far and near, and our diaspora. Let's keep our head up. Let's remain battle ready, for we shall overcome and retain the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for the original Bahamian. God bless you, Professor. God bless Lady Russell, and may the Lord continue to bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Thank you very much for that contribution, Blackmail. We appreciate it a lot. And
I'm so glad he
go ahead, Lady Russell.
Yeah, I'm so glad he called, Professor Thompson, because I alluded to the fact that some people we had elected didn't know, hadn't read the Constitution. I have a newspaper clipping, a story by the current Attorney General, Mr. Ryan Pinder, where he says we're not going to have a referendum on the issue of citizenship because the Bahamian people always vote wrong.
No, I agree with you 100% on that. That is misleading, false information from the Office of Attorney General.
That's an insult.
It's an insult, and it's misleading. And we see, this is why I keep saying to the Bahamian people, listen to what the man is saying and watch what he does.
Yes.
Because he is not for the Bahamian people. Here is a man sitting as Attorney General talking crap and misleading the Bahamian people, misleading the government of the Bahamas, misleading the Parliament of the Bahamas with false information that he does not even understand the heck what he's doing.
Well, he's not trained in constitutional law. I think he's a tax attorney or a real estate attorney and trained in the United States of America, which is an entirely different system.
Paula, just hold on. Don't go nowhere. He has proven himself. This is the second time, I believe, he's in this office. Again, we know what happened the first time.
Yep.
The man decided to take some personal things first, which was important to him over the welfare of the nation.
Yes.
Why the heck is he there now? Because the same crap that he was doing before is what he's doing now. Trying to persuade people to believe that you could take ordinary legislation, which is foolishness and nonsense, to change entrenched provisions in the Constitution of the Commonwealth, and no way that could happen. Absolutely no way. He is saying you need to have a referendum. Tell him stop talking foolishness and nonsense. We have a call on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Professor, I had to call back. When Blackmail spoke just now, I experienced an earthquake of highest on the Richter scale for the truth, the stamina, and the energy and the determination that he's determined with his group and the few sensible Bahamian that the Bahamas will not, under no circumstance, be snatched, dragged, pulled, manipulated, and pulled from under us who it belongs to. And a man from international 7 years ago came here and he said that the Bahamas can solve Haiti's problems, but he forgot we didn't destroy Haiti. He needs to take his backside to France and all who were a part of Haiti and let them solve it. And I appreciate the contingency of Blackmail and all those who are sensible and realize the Bahamas belongs to us and they are determined to get these demons out of our country. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution. Lady Russell, go ahead.
Yes, I had asked a friend of mine that we talk about issues affecting the nation all of the time. I'd asked her to call in, and you repeated the numbers. Hopefully she'll call in. But one of the issues most important to her was the economics of this immigration crisis. We Bahamians are being made to pay for these people who are arriving. We have to pay to educate their children. That's not our business. We have, and now the prime minister is announcing a breakfast and a lunch.
Yes,
Who's
yes.
paying for that? We have to pay for that.
Lady
And
Russell,
so,
I have not yet. I know I heard it on the radio, but I can ask my producer if he has those sound bites because of some recent things that the Prime Minister said in relation to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That is why I keep saying to the Bahamian people, that's why those sound bites are very important on this show, so we can
yes,
get it
yes,
exactly and precisely the way he said it.
yes,
Even that which is in print, we'll work with that too. But the point is that I always say, listen to what the man says and listen to what he says and watch what he does.
yeah,
That is
yeah.
very important. And Bahamians need to wake up, and I'm delighted that Bahamians are waking up to the harsh realities of what has been going on by those who've been given the responsibility to run this place. It hasn't been good. It has been very troubling. It has been very difficult. And we are being forced by circumstances to share what we have, what God has given us. He
Mm.
gave them people their country and their things.
Yeah.
We have it in the Bahamas for Bahamians, and that is very important. This is Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson. I think we got to go to another break again. This is
Yes.
Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. My special guest, Lady Philippa Russell. The lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272, We'll be back after the break.
Mhm, mhm. All right.
0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Express yourself. And I believe we have a caller on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good afternoon.
Could you speak a little louder for me?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Professor.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, how are you?
How are you? This is indeed a privilege for me to say hello and how are you,
Yes,
Lady
I'm
Philippa
doing quite
Russell.
well. Yes, ma'am.
I have been calling, trying to get in touch with the dear lady for more than a year.
Okay.
Yesterday, I inquired about her.
Yes.
And just look, I just turned to your station and I
She's right
your
there.
guest. Lady Russell, how are you?
Yes. Fine, thank you. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I'm very concerned about the
Hello, Lady
disability.
Russell.
Can you hear
don't
me?
have to be shy.
Can you hear me?
No.
The producer would have to put
Hello.
me in. Hello.
Sir, she's not hearing Lady Russell.
Yeah. Am I in now? Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Go ahead, ma'am.
No, I was saying, Lady Russell, only yesterday I inquired about you.
Wonderful.
Somebody, and I happened to just turn to the station and
Uh-huh.
I heard Professor Thompson saying you were his guest. How
Uh-huh.
are you, ma'am?
Pretty good, but I don't know if you can hear me. Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you now, yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm doing wonderfully well. And I think about you from time to time when I examine the plight of persons with disabilities in the Bahamas, because you spent the better part of your life ensuring that we get the kind of services and care that does exist. And so your efforts, you will have an indelible place in the annals of this nation's history, ma'am. I shall ensure of it with the same commitment as I've shown my good friend Sir Randall Falk. Ma'am, you've earned a place. You've done well. Now, there's so much more to do. And so I think about you often because the people in Dubai, the disabled, the elderly, oh, they are well taken care of with that money that the leaders there acknowledge is the money of the people. It's not the royal family's wealth. It's the people's wealth. And so it's well spent on them. They are served. There's people who work to go in to make sure the disabled are cleaned and have a hair done and meal cooked. So they're cared for in a way that we haven't done here, not yet anyway. But I
Well,
think about you, and I know you would be interested in taking it further.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little taken aback. You are aware that the
Mm.
Bahamas National Council for Disability was closed down and has been closed down and court proceeding for the past 5 years. And only last week we
Mhm,
got word
mhm.
that the Bahamas that the council won its case. So that's a
Mm,
victory. But anyhow, that
wonderful.
is that
Hopefully you'll be
is
able to secure a budget.
hello.
Hopefully you'll be able, hopefully you will be able to secure a budget and to continue because it is important work.
It is important work, but I don't know how important it is to our country and persons like yourself who could perhaps make a difference. But anyway, it is so very nice to hear your voice, ma'am. All the
Okay.
best to you.
Well,
And thank you.
I will continue to pursue the issues related to the disabled because I'm
Very
sure
good.
that God spared my life so that I would make a difference as well
Yes,
in that
all of
regard.
because I'm now using a wheelchair, but thank God I still have my faculties about me.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I
Professor,
hear you.
thank you for
Yes, ma'am.
allowing me
Yes. It was
to have
lovely.
this word with Lady Philippa Russell.
Yes. It
I'll
was.
Lady,
make an
all the
effort.
best to you. God
Yeah.
bless
I'll
you.
make an effort. I'll reach out, ma'am.
You mistake, you know.
Thank you,
God
Colin.
bless
Thank you
you.
for your contribution. I'm so delighted that she, in fact, when I was at St. Joseph's Church, she had mentioned about you, and
Mhm.
I may have forgotten to tell you about it.
You did.
I
You're
did.
like my
Okay, all right.
son.
Okay, I did.
You remind me of my son. Everyone that sees my son and they say, "How is your mother?" Tell her hello. He says, "Thank you very much," and goes about his business as
Yeah,
though I got the message. No,
yeah,
he got the message. I
yes.
didn't get it.
Okay, yeah. I just want to see if I could clarify something from our Facebook viewers, because it appears as if there is a lack of understanding when I speak about the government of the Bahamas. Apparently, there are some people who seem to be politically polarized.
Mhm.
The government of the Bahamas is different from a political party. The Constitution allows for political parties. The electorate makes a determination as to who will sit in those seats. Unfortunately, for 52 years as an independent nation, we have not made the best decisions for the benefit of the people of the Commonwealth of Bahamas. All we have to do, Bahamians, is look at the track record of the government of the Bahamas. The Bahamian electorate has given those who had the opportunity to run this place a massive landslide of seats
Mhm.
from 1968 right on up to now.
Yes.
We have to understand what went on before. People fail to understand a political party is one thing. The government of the Bahamas is another thing. You can have your political party. The Constitution allows for it. But that political party does not have to be the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And this is why I say to people, look at the track record. A party has been knocking around for 70 years in your legislature. 70 solid years. Next year, without they miss a beat on that. But you
Mhm.
sent them there, Bahamians. Let's face the harsh reality. And I say clearly,
Mhm.
what major national problems have been solved by that particular entity that has been given the authority to run this place many times over?
Mhm.
What major national problems have been solved? That's the question I want answer to. Let's
Mhm.
look at the track record, Bahamians. What major constituencies that particular organization has had represented in for the last 70 years? And what major constituency problems have been solved in all of those constituencies over the last 70 years? That's the
Well,
kind of question we need to be asking Bahamians. But you so busy talking about this one and that one, who you like this one and that one, while the problems continue to compound at the constituency level and at the national level.
well,
Hold on, Lady Russell. I got a caller on the line. Let me see if I get
oh,
this.
wonderful, wonderful.
Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Professor.
Yes, sir.
And I knew if I made Philippa before she was Lady Russell. How you doing? Yeah, and every time you speak, I'm amazed because I see why you and I relate so much, because your dad, he was always saying a lot of smart stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
three things happened to me today. There's my little cat there. Three things happened. I'll be back. Three things happened to me today that I would like to share with you. Social issues that's going on in the Bahamas. Two people, I believe, and this may sound, I don't know, it may sound xenophobic, but I really don't care. The two most diverse people in the Caribbean, and we're not really in the Caribbean, but I'll just use that as an example, are Haitians and Bahamians.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every other nation down here, or at least they speak English, I could relate to. I love Haitians because I have Haitian friends and family members too. But the thing is, I'll give you a couple of examples. Today, I was called out I was called out to do some things for this disabled, the training, a place where I was asked somebody was sick, and I had to go and pick up a disabled person as he would do his job.
Mm-hmm.
For that, but while I was out, I had to take him to a spot, and I heard some people talking about it. I mean, you're hearing conversations from regular people who no business of yours. I only overheard these guys talking about this situation, and that's how I'm talking. These are mechanics at a very notable place. So anyway, I had to go back to the headquarters to wait. And while I sat there, a young man came in, and there's a little disturbance going on out front. So I was called out front. Actually, I was summoned out front. And when I came out front, I heard this story that included me, that someone recognized me and would like to speak to me outside.
Mm-hmm.
So I went aside to see this person. And do you know that it was a Jamaican person trying to shake down the place, telling me that the stories were so full of lies. I couldn't put what, and from watching these police shows, I know if there's one lie, there's probably another, and nothing is truthful. And so if the Jamaican woman say, well, we need some clothes, and my son, this guy, and guess what the guy is doing? I swear to God, you guys got to get the picture of this. He's shadow boxing, like he's punching something, while his mother, thick Jamaican accent, is talking to me. And I'm trying to figure what's going on. So I go back to the people inside, and I say, listen, I'll go tell them something. So I say, listen, give us a call.
I think his phone is failing there.
Almost to the point of, I say, call the police. This is a robbery. This is a shakedown. This is how these people operate from down south. Now, this is Jamaican. It's not Asian. So I went on my way. I'm dropping this person home. Like I said, the handicapped person. I was told to stop and pick up some Wendy's burgers on Wolf Road and East Street. So I pulled in, and all of a sudden they direct me to the outer lane. I went into the outer lane like I was directed to. So here you got two lanes coming up to the drive-through. Guess whose car is going to be first? Well, the first car to get there. That's how we do things. But anyway, I'm driving up. I'm sneaking up behind the cars, and I'm looking one car. Well, this car just jumped in the front of me. Mentally handicapped, so he can't really relate to anything. I got pictures of it all. Anyway, this guy just kept sneaking his. I said, okay, let him go. When they went in, to the window, they paid. When they get to the next window, I said, watch this. They put out my order. And I said all this. These people from down south are very aggressive. They are not as sophisticated as we are, because we went through this. We went through this dog eat dog a long time ago, but we came out of it. And now here we are. We are back into the situation where we have to deal with them. And my God, we have. I wouldn't say a million, but we got thousands of them will be coming here, and you're going to see a social change in this Bahamas like you wouldn't. And the story, as silly as that story is, I just want to make.
We got you.
Yeah,
we got you.
We got you, caller.
We got
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your contribution. Lady Russell,
let me say this, brother Thompson. I'm so glad that it took him a while, but he got the point made. The social and cultural effects of a bunch of people with differing values coming into your space, unless you have people who are responsible and care for your national security in such situations. For example, there's some people bragging about a movie that showed at Fusion a few days ago, and the title of the movie is Kidnapping. And I'm thinking, why would anybody allow a film that glorifies kidnapping from our neighbors nearby who are trying to move in, that would cause a rash of kidnappings? And so when I realized I could not stop it, I then wished on who all I hope they kidnap first. The devil is a lie. How dare you? How dare you bring that on us too? We're already
Yeah.
dealing with the rude people, the stick-ups. And by the way, the lady who helps me, my personal assistant, she works at a place where a Jamaican girl works along with her, and her $600 went missing on Saturday. So
Yeah.
I Googled Jamaica dollar. $100 is 15,900 of their money. Can you imagine why it wasn't too difficult for her to steal my Bahamian personal assistant's money? 15,009 per 100 times 6.
Yes.
So we got real problems if we don't have people managing this nation who are concerned about Bahamians and their well-being. That desperate Jamaican hoe who steal the money, that's not our concern. She needs to be in Jamaica trying to find $100, not here.
That's right.
And so we have sufficient Bahamians to manage this place. And guess what? My solution is, and I will see this done, if we need to import help from other nations, we will pick the nation.
That's
We
right.
will not go to Haiti for workers. There's the Indonesians, there's the Filipinos. They do well with us, they're Christian. And if we need special security forces to manage the sea and all that, we should hire Germans. We could see them. We have no prior bad history with them.
That's right.
And so there are people all over the world that we can hire because we're rich. We can hire people to manage the Bahamas. We don't need a group of people, parasites, who come with a story and then gonna hoist up their flag and declare a victory. A victory over what? You'll be going home shortly. And so that Pyrrhic victory that they declared, I'm gonna tell them it cost you more because we will in future no longer employ you. You will not be welcome here, and the border will be closed shortly because if we cannot get this administration to do it, we will hire people who will in the name of Jesus.
Amen. I agree with that. And the thing is that people need to understand, as I was saying before the caller, that people need to understand the purpose of the government of the Bahamas. The government of the Bahamas ought to be protecting the interests of the Bahamian people. The
Nothing else.
Constitution allows. Go ahead, Lady Russell.
Nothing else. They have
Nothing
no
else.
other job. No
Yes.
other job.
And this is what I'm trying to get people to understand. The issue is the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Those persons who've been given the authority to run this place. That's where the real issue is. Now, they got some other people who they're dealing with. That's another kettle of fish. But the point is, we have to be very careful of the quality of persons we send to do our national affairs. Some people
Yes.
want to wrap things into a political party. You have
No.
any number of political parties in the country. The Constitution allows for that.
Yes.
So we cannot dismiss that. I'm not
Yes.
interested in that. What I'm
Right.
interested in the quality of governance, the quality of representation at the constituency level. The two questions I've been asking for almost a year. And I got an answer from that particular person this morning. The answer was no. Nothing has happened. The particular individual has been voting for decades in that
Yes.
particular constituency.
Let me
So,
say this,
yeah,
Professor.
go ahead. Yeah,
I
okay.
want to make a promise and a commitment, and I'm pretty good at my word. In the very near future, the Patriots are going to stage a town meeting where we invite the required talent to manage a nation to show up.
Yes,
Go to the microphones. There'll be two, one in the two aisles. Make your presentation, sign the book with your email and contact. We will
yes,
be selecting talent of people who can manage a country because this is the biggest business next to America and Canada. It ain't Trinidad, baby. It's the Bahamas.
it's
We are
Bahamas.
huge, and this is big money. So we need qualified people who are not thieves and crooks. You cannot have a reputation of being before the court. I mean, you've been in every scrape, and your reputation as a liar. You're not going to run this. I
Yes,
mean,
ma'am.
you'll be allowed to live. We won't kill you. but you're not running anything here. Anyway, Brother
Yeah,
Thompson, I said enough. Stay tuned for the town meeting information. We're working on that.
yes, ma'am. Well, that is a good thing. And the point is that we need persons of reputation and character, because character is very, very important in running a
Absolutely.
nation. This is the biggest business, and we have
Yeah.
allowed some things to happen which is not in the best interest of the Bahamian people. Although you had people who were saying this is in the best interest of the Bahamian people, we need to examine carefully persons who are sent to do our national affairs. We have not done a good job of
No.
that over the last 52 years as an independent nation. Lady Russell, give your closing remarks, please.
I just want to say thank you so much for having me, Professor Thompson, and I'll be listening in to hear others who have their contributions to make on the way forward. One thing, God didn't give us this nation to have us lose it to a nation that He has cursed. They
Yes.
are already cursed. We have been blessed. In 1973, when we included Him in our foundational documents, we sealed our future, and we've not changed anything. God bless you, Brother Thompson, and your listeners.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you for your contribution. And that was Lady Russell. Of course, tomorrow we expect another special guest on our station tomorrow, and we hope all goes well. And then Friday, of course, is open line. And I'm going to deal more with the parliamentary system in our country, the governance of our country. And people got to get it to understand. Yes, political parties do exist in the country. But the point is, you have to understand government is a whole different matter as opposed to a political party. People may have their political views, fine. I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in, what the Constitution says, one, what a parliamentary representative ought to have, what the Constitution says, the importance of governance, because Bahamians, we're spending billions and billions of dollars in trying to run this place, but we got some people in it who don't seem to understand that. Is it for the benefit of the Bahamian people? So far, we've been having all kind of problems, all kind of issues, and we are not solving any of these problems. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. Of course, tomorrow I'll be here, and you can tune in at the same time. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. Have a pleasant afternoon.